amen to that. Anybody here ever settle for default? I'll just settle for whatever comes along. How many years I did that before I realized I could do it differently. You know, Charles Fillmore, when I first came into Unity, I read where he wrote, everything that is manifest was first a mental picture and was brought into expression through the forming power of imagination. And so I have to do a little show and tell. I also grew up with show and tell, and you're not going to be able to see it real well, but I'll explain it. Anybody here ever done a treasure map or a visioning board? And I swear to God, no matter how many I've done over the years, it always happens, no matter, and most people put pictures, but I find pictures can sometimes limit it. We had a teacher once who said she put a picture of a car, and she manifested the car, but she noticed the hubcap was missing. And she went back and looked at her picture, and sure enough, on the picture was a missing hubcap. So, I know that's cute, isn't it? But anyway, I just put words, you know, and I started with a picture of Michael and I, and, you know, we're living our perfect life. And then I put words like, you know, abundant and healthy and fun and loving and joyful, friends, family. You know, what would your perfect life be? And the more, you know, we have it hanging in our kitchen, and the more I look at it, the more I'm feeling it's happening. It's wonderful. Anyway, Brandon, I'm going to turn it over. You're too young for Walt Disney, probably. No.
I'm only 23, but I know Walt Disney.
I have an imagination.
I do, yes. That's good. Give Linda a round of applause. Yes, thank you very much. You know, visioning is one of my favorite things because our imagination can just go wild. Our visions and our imagination are not held within a box of what we see that the world can limit us to, that society can limit us to, that even our own upbringing can limit us to. When we're visioning, release all of that. Release all of those preconceived limits. Because there is no limit on the divine. There is no limit on spirit. There is no limit on God. And that spirit lives and breathes in you as you. So what are we doing putting limits on ourselves? Can I get an amen? Yeah. What are we doing putting limits on ourselves if that spirit, that one presence and one power is in us as us moving into this world? We all may be unique manifestations of that one presence. That means Jametta may not show up like I do as part of that one presence. We're a part of it, but we're uniquely different. And we celebrate our differences. We celebrate our different visions. Can I get an amen on that too? We celebrate our different visions. And when we come together in community, there's an old verse that when I was raised Pentecostal is where 2 or 3 are gathered in His name, so the Spirit of the Lord is. So in my terminology, knowing that God, Spirit, doesn't have a gender and is not separate from us, wherever we are collectively, together, visioning, walking together, God, Spirit, is there. So wherever we are, God is. Can we say that together? Wherever we are, God is. And that is the complete truth. If your brain says something different, keep saying it until you believe it. Because if there was one truth in this entire world, wherever we are, God is.
All right. Well, I have another good thing for you to repeat. I love trains. We both love trains. And Carolyn Casey, who's an author, wrote in one of her books, imagination lays the tracks for the reality train to follow. Let's say that together. Imagination lays the tracks for the reality train to follow. So we have to do an oops on this. What's your imagination been thinking lately about your own life, the church, the world, everything going on out there? Is it filled with fear or imagining all the awful things? Or is it filled with wondrous, infinite possibilities? You know, quantum physics is actually proving it now, that when they send that particle through the tube, it can come out as either a wave or a particle by whatever the observer is imagining. They call it quantum weirdness. Quantum weirdness, I love that phrase. And, you know, metaphysicians call it the power of the imagination. And Charles Fillmore, the co-founder of Unity, called it one of the 12 powers of the Christ, is imagination. It's a divine power in all of us. And we can use it or settle for a default reality. Now, there is an oops to imagination. It can work for you or against you, right? All together now, oops. Anybody here ever make a mountain out of a molehill? Oops, oops. Anybody here ever worry yourself sick? Oops, oops. Anybody here imagine your fears into being? You know the saying, that which I feared has come upon me. All together now, oops. We live in a world that appears to have gone a little mad. And we can imagine fear and separation. Or we can imagine all the wondrous things that we can do together. Now, my generation, again, not only had Walt Disney, but when I grew up, we had John Lennon, who wrote the song Imagine, right? And I know the song goes, imagine all the people living life in peace. I like to sing too, sometimes I put in my own words, imagine all the people living life as one. You know, let's start imagining that. And then we're going to have the next couple of weeks, and I'll turn it over to Brandon, where we're going to imagine what we can do here as a church community. And then, you know, we're going to have a meeting after this service talking about all the things that are going on with the building and how we should handle it. So let's do it with our imaginations, and we honor everyone's vision. I'll go on too much, so Brandon, go ahead and jump in.
Okay. So if there's a problem, there's a question. If there's a question, there's an answer. And if there's an answer, there's a becoming. So we're talking about vision and imagination, but as we go through our daily lives, if we come across something that seems like a hardship or a problem, then let's make sure that we're asking the right questions. The positive questions, not, oh, why, God, is this happening to me? But what is this teaching me? What good is coming of this? When we figure that out, the question, then the answer comes. And when the answer comes, then we can become that. But in order to become something, something has to change. Something has to be transformed. Something has to be released. If we have something in our life that we are walking through, we know where we're going, our vision-wise, but a roadblock comes up. Something has to change in our lives. We have to put feet. We have to do the work. You know, Unity talks about prayer. And prayer is an amazing thing. But in my own personal walk and spiritual belief system, prayer without works is dead. We can sit and meditate for hours and hours and hours and hours upon time, but unless we actually get out and live it in this world, it don't mean nothing. We might as well just not have meditated. In my personal belief, you can disagree with me, but we have to put action. to our vision. We have to put action to our imagination. We have to put action to our prayer. Now, Michael Beckwith, an amazing New Thought minister, they were having to move into a new building. They ran out of money. They were broke. He calls an emergency board meeting. The board gets together. The board is complaining and fussing and fighting. And he said, hold up. He had this gentleman stand by the door, and he said, nobody leaves this room until we work this out. He said, can we please quit complaining for a week? Can we please quit fussing for a week? Can we please turn off our television for a week and start visioning what we see this congregation as? And hold for the next week that vision. Because right now, you may think something is impossible. But if you break that word up, it says, I'm possible. I'm possible. I am possible. And they did it. Tuesday of that week, they didn't have any collateral to build this, to finish this new building. They were $400,000 short to finish this new building, and they were going to be kicked out of their old building. Some people were working at their desk, and the president of the bank walks through, micromanaging, looking over the loan officer's shoulders. I said, what are you working on? He said, Agape. They want a $400,000 loan, but they ain't got a stinking bit of collateral. The owner of the bank said, is that Michael Beckwith? It's like, yeah, give him the money. Well, sir, they don't have collateral. I said, give him the money. On Tuesday of that day, they were approved $400,000 to finish their church with no collateral. On that Thursday of that same week, their contractor called and said, hey, we got to get this building together. I'm having a crew at your new building 24 hours a day until this is finished. And we'll work out the money later. Can you see a shift from complaining, ego, impossible, to I'm possible? To things happen when we are in the flow of Spirit. There is nothing too great for us individually, as a community, and as a world to accomplish if we will remember I'm possible. And if we will turn off that murmuring and complaining and that sense of lack in our head and realize that we are God manifested on this earth. That we are individualized expressions of God. And that's all that matters. Do you want to close us out with a prayer? Lily, as you come up and the band comes up, we're going to close out. Let's take some deep breaths. And let's really remember and feel our oneness with that one divine Spirit that lives as us. Nothing else matters. Our bank accounts don't matter. Our own personal belief systems at this point don't matter. The only thing that matters is that we remember who we are. Who are you? Who are you? I know who you are. You are love manifested. You are health manifested. You are abundance